Okay, we are live. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening and welcome back to the Law and Prince YouTube channel and to another session of the Hindu analysis. Today is 11th of February. It's a Wednesday and we are live. Sure is here. Good evening to you too. All right. If you guys have joined the stream, please let me know in the chat box and then let's start. Prasati is here. Good evening to you too. Parth is also here. Very good evening. All right, all right, all right. Let's begin. Let's look at today's agenda. 3 आर्टिकल्स हैं आज जो हम पीपीटी पे डिस्कस करेंगे. इसके बाद हमारा एक स्ट्रैटेजी सेशन भी है राइट आफ्टर टुडेज क्लास which is on how to attempt your mock test, how many mock tests, how to analyze them, etc., etc. Everything about mocks. That is the session right after the Hindu analysis. But in the Hindu analysis, we have these 3 articles to discuss. One is regarding the headline news where the government has mandated AI companies to mark the AI content as AI, some symbolizing so that it can be distinguished. Then we are talking about the removal of the Lok Sabha speaker, and there's an editorial on the expiry of the START treaty, which was between US and Russia regarding the nuclear arms. So these are the 3 things which we're going to discuss. Then, of course, 3 new vocab words of the day and some articles on the newspaper as well. Rashi is here, Charvi is here. Very good evening to everyone. Let's begin without any further ado क्योंकि काफी सारी चीजें आज हमें करनी है. And we also have a session right after this. Okay, cool. Let's go to the newspaper then. Newspaper, here it is. Okay, this is the Hindu newspaper. I hope it is visible to everyone. 11th of February. Let's go. Center mandates label for photorealistic AI content. मतलब जो AI content almost real photo जैसा लग रहा है उसके लिए labeling जरूरी है. They would amend IT rules and they have called for disclosure of AI-generated synthetic media and wants platform of loss of safe harbor for non-compliance. Changes notified by the government to take effect from 20th of February. So, ये amendment हुए हैं IT rules 2026 under the IT Act. And according to these rules, the platforms must clearly label these AI-generated photorealistic wala content, which applies to content that looks real and authentic but is actually created by AI or altered by AI. Essentially, target इसका है deep fakes and realistic looking AI generated videos, audios, images, which can be used in a negative purpose. Synthetic content में क्या क्या include कर रहे हैं? Audio भी, video भी, images भी, created content भी, modified content भी, altered content भी, चाहे AI से हो चाहे computer tools से हो, which makes it look almost real, indistinguishable from real people or real events. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The clarification is that जो normal camera वाले touch-ups होते हैं जैसे smartphone filters या enhancements उसको cover नहीं किया गया under these rules. So it's just AI. इससे पहले जो रूल्स थे उसमें platforms had 24 to 36 hours to remove the illegal content, but now they have 3 hours if a court or government declares the content illegal. They have 3 hours to remove it, and 2 hours for very highly sensitive content like non-consensual, nudity-related content, deepfake-related content. वो 2 घंटे में हटाना पड़ेगा, which is a major reduction in response time, which means they have to act very quickly. And what happens if they don't follow these rules? They might lose their safe harbor protection. Safe harbor क्या होता है? It essentially protects social media platforms from impunity, from being implicated under something which happens on their platform. For example, someone released a deepfake video of a politician or a businessman, and as a result, something happened. So अब इसमें सोशल मीडिया जो प्लेटफॉर्म है उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी आइडियली नहीं होती, टेक्निकली नहीं होती, बट मान लो वो कंप्लाई नहीं करते तो फिर उनको ये सेफ हार्बर जो मिलता है वो नहीं मिलेगा. And if they lose the safe harbor, they can be held legally liable for whatever happens because of that content. So essentially, government is trying to control the misuse of AI, especially deepfakes, and protect people from harmful content. And this essentially increases pressure of these social media companies. So yeah, that's pretty much it. थोड़ा सा और इसको हम पीपीटी पे भी देखेंगे कि और क्या चीज़ें हैं. ठीक है जी, आगे चलें. चैट में कौन कौन आ गया है. Rashi is here, Charvi is here, Shiketh is here, Gopal is here, Siddhi is here, Kavita is here, Swara is here. Very, very good evening to everyone. Welcome to the stream. We have just started our discussion. First article हमने discuss कर लिया. Second one is Supreme Court agrees to hear plea against Assam CM's hate speeches. As you can see him in the picture, we're talking about Mr. Himanta Biswa Sarma. And Supreme Court ने approval दे दिया है to urgently hear a petition which has been filed by two parties, CPI and CPIM, Communist Party of India, Communist Party Marxist. And these petitions accuse this person, Mr. Sarma, of repeatedly making hate speeches targeting the Muslim community. Allegations ये हैं कि ये एक sustained pattern notice कर सकते हैं लोग in his hate speeches where he is targeting and instigating hostility against Muslims in Assam primarily, and increasing communal tension and harming values like fraternity, secularism, etc. अभी recently ही एक specific incident हुआ, इन्होंने एक post issue किया, which was later deleted, where he was firing a gun at animated images of two allegedly Muslim men, and there were phrases used like "no mercy," "point blank shot," etc., etc., which obviously was an attempt to rage bait people, as we say in today's day and time. Now, the petitions warned that an FIR should be registered against him and investigation should happen. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के हमारे जो चीफ जस्टिस साहब है, जस्टिस सूर्यकांत, उन्होंने अर्जेंट हियरिंग के लिए लगा दिया है केस. He said that as elections take place, part of elections take place in the Supreme Court as well, which means political matters come to the court as well. तो देखेंगे अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट में क्या होता है, क्या इन पे कोई कार्रवाई होती है या नहीं होती है. We'll get to see that. All right, Sambhav is here. Good evening. Shore is saying state mentions intrusion either from court or government authority doesn't it give control to government to decide what to keep and remove? 100% it gives, and this might be looked at as a invasion of free speech as well. So yeah, there is that aspect to that. That's true. But the government also has the responsibility to take care of the law and order situation, social fabric, etc., etc. ठीक है जी, तो वही है 19 clause 2 वाली powers आ जाती हैं गवर्नमेंट के पास to put reasonable restrictions on things. ठीक है जी, आगे चले. Let's go. Netizens bat for Mohammed Deepak's gym. This guy really got famous on social media, and for the right reasons, I think. There were some people from a certain group who were trying to allegedly harass a Muslim man, old Muslim man, over his shop's name. कुछ ऐसा बाबा करके shop का नाम था उनकी. And this guy, who's a gym owner in Kotdwar is a city in Uttarakhand. He came to that old man's rescue, and when he was asked his name, he said that his name is Mohammed Deepak, which was obviously attempt to showcase that he stands with that person. Of course, his name is not Mohammed Deepak, his name is Deepak Kumar. But basically showing solidarity with that man. And of course, for that, he has faced a lot of consequences. He runs a gym and people are not going to his gym anymore. But now online people are gathering together to support him, either through online gym training memberships or, expressing financial support. That is what is happening. His gym is called Hulk. This is the guy. So yeah, that's what's happening. Villagers in Odisha boycott Anganwadi over appointment of a Dalit employee. हाँ, कब तक चलेगा देश में ऐसे. ठीक है, चलो इसमें डिस्कस करने को कुछ है नहीं. दिस इज जस्ट व्हाट द हेडलाइन सेज. दैट्स प्रीटी मच इट. City based news is not important. We'll move ahead. State based news में this is all politics. Can skip this. DMK to hold seat sharing discussions. Trade deal will hit J&K's horticulture sector the most, says CM Omar Abdullah. Horticulture essentially is fruits, dry fruits. ये सारी चीजें horticulture का part होती है. And they are saying J&K would be impacted from the recent US trade deal. Badal joins governor's drive against drugs and attempt to run the Samjhauta Express. Samjhauta Express was a train which used to run between Delhi to Lahore, and as the name suggests, it was to create a समझौता. But now it is not operational, तो इसको वापस से start करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं लोग. In assembly, Naveen says Bihar is treated with respect now. Don't force fit Hindutva, says Raj Thackeray. All right. Wajid Ali Shah was not exiled to Calcutta, says the book by his descendant. Who was Wajid Ali Shah? Nawab Wajid Ali Shah was the last Nawab of Awadh, or what we today call as Lucknow. And he ruled the place till British removed him in 1856, right before the revolt of 1857. And he spent the last 30 years of his life in Calcutta, or what we call Kolkata, and he died in 1887. The common belief which we hold today is that he was exiled or forcibly sent to Calcutta by the British as a punishment. But ये जो नई research है by his descendant, it says that he came to Calcutta voluntarily out of his own mercy, and his plan was to travel to London, present a petition to the British Parliament and the Queen, protest against the Britishers and their atrocities. But his journey to London was restricted, so he had to stay in Calcutta. So this is a new book, Wajid Ali Shah, A Cultural and Literary Legacy, which is translated by Miss Talat Fatima from her father's Urdu biography by the same name. The Urdu biography by her father, whose name is Kokub Kudur Sajad Ali Mirza, researched this book for a lot of time, and he corrected a lot of historical confusions, calling Wajid Ali Shah a poet, writer, cultural patron, fluent in multiple languages like Urdu, Persian, Arabic, Braj Bhasha, which used to be spoken in that area dominantly. And saying that although he was a devout Muslim, he was very secular and broad-minded in his outlook. बाकी नवाब साहब की 50 से 60 बेगम थी, वाइफ्स थी, which is interesting. And around 6-7 of them stayed with him in Calcutta as well, जहाँ पे बाकी जो बची कुची थी उनको ये लव लेटर लिखा करते थे. एंड लव लेटर्स में पता चलता है ये कितने इमोशनल इंसान थे. ऐसा मैं नहीं कह रहा, है आर्टिकल में लिखा है सारा कुछ, ठीक है. ये लेटर्स जो हैं ये प्रिजर्व्ड हैं इन कोलकाता's फोर्ट विलियम्स. सो या दैट्स इंटरेस्टिंग. सो फन फैक्ट फ्रॉम हिस्ट्री दिस इज. चलो आगे चलते हैं. Interesting analysis of warm-up mock. Okay. Aradhya has joined. Welcome to the stream, Aradhya. All right, let's move ahead. Jan Nayagan row is not important. This is an ad. Approaching AI surge. Surge मतलब होता है increase its global consequences. This is an article by Mr. M.K. Narayan, former director of Intelligence Bureau. क्या कह रहे हैं नारायण जी? नारायण जी कह रहे हैं कि AI सिर्फ एक टेक डेवलपमेंट नहीं रह गया. This can completely ट्रांसफॉर्म द ग्लोबल ऑर्डर, चाहे वो वॉरफेयर की बात हो, डिप्लोमेसी की बात हो, या ग्लोबल पावर पॉलिटिक्स की बात हो. ग्लोबल पॉलिटिक्स हमें पता है वैसे ही काफी अनस्टेबल चल रही है. यूएस रशिया की राइवलरी, यूएस चाइना की राइवलरी, ट्रेड वॉर, सप्लाई चेन टेंशन, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. एंड इसी बीच कनाडा के पीएम मार्क कार्नी कहते हैं कि इस समय द वर्ल्ड इज इन अ रप्चर, नॉट अ ट्रांजिशन. बट ये आर्टिकल कहता है द बिगेस्ट डिसरप्टर इज एआई, व्हिच इज नॉट बीइंग फुली रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एज ऑफ नाउ बाय द वर्ल्ड लीडर्स, as it could accelerate the breakdown of the current international system because it's advancing really fast. Large language models जो है बहुत तेजी से develop हो रहे हैं, and there's a race between US and China on who would become or make the better version. And AI is becoming a strategic tool of diplomacy and statecraft. Countries are talking about building sovereign AI stacks as in AI systems which are independent, and it's transforming all the sectors, be it finance, healthcare, governance, competitiveness, etc. etc. रिस्क भी हैं इसके. हेलुसिनेशंस वी ऑल नो. एआई जो है गड़बड़ कर देता है कभी कभी, इनकरेक्ट इंफॉर्मेशन, फैब्रिकेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन, विच कैन कॉज मिस जजमेंट्स समटाइम. इसीलिए सेंसिटिव एरियाज में इसको अभी नहीं यूज कर सकते, जैसे लॉ, लीगल पॉलिसी मेकिंग, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. बिगेस्ट कंसर्न ये आर्टिकल कहता है इज रिगार्डिंग वॉरफेयर. AI is enabling autonomous drones, uncrewed ground vehicles, targeting systems, automatic decision making in combats. जिससे human control से shift होके automatic systems पे हम जा रहे हैं. And the Ukraine war is an example जहाँ पे drones, AI based surveillance drones use किए गए, and AI played a big role in resisting a much larger Russian military force. तो यही सारी चीज़ें यहाँ पे इन्होंने हाईलाइट करी हैं कि AI could become uncontrollable and autonomous, and how it's transforming so many things in geopolitics, and how we need to be careful and put some checks and balances and have some oversight mechanisms to prevent a runaway AI which becomes out of control. Yeah, that's what this article tells us pretty much. और तो ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है इसमें. Then on the left hand side, you see new beginnings. The end of START should prompt discussions on wider and equal terms. START stands for the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, which was between US and the then USSR, but now it has expired on 5th of February. करेंगे इसकी बातचीत थोड़ी सी on the PPT. वैसे तो हम कर चुके हैं इसकी बातचीत एक बार, but ठीक है. Takaichi's triumph. Takaichi is the PM, the female PM of Japan, and Japan should go beyond conservatism and adopt an inclusive agenda. तो जापान की जो पीएम है सने टकाइची और उनकी जो पार्टी है एलडीपी, they are going to win the recent snap elections where they are winning 316 out of 465 seats, which is the strongest performance in the post World War II era, which is a comeback for Takaichi and her party, and she became the first woman PM last year itself, जब LDP was not doing really well. उनकी पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी थोड़ी सी कंजर्वेटिव नेशनलिस्ट टाइप की है, and she's closely aligned with one of the former Japanese prime ministers, Mr. Shinzo Abe, and she kind of promotes a Trump style of agenda for Japan, where she is strict on immigration policies and citizenship for foreigners, also strict on economic policies. She withdrew the fuel tax and promised more tax cuts. She's also taking a hard stance on China and Taiwan and saying that they could even intervene militarily if China attacks Taiwan. So this is causing strain between their relationship with China. And yeah, that's pretty much it. फॉरेन पॉलिसी की बात करी गई है कि कैसे वो चेंज होगी. बट या दैट्स काइंड ऑफ इट फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल. नेक्स्ट अप व्हाट डू वी हैव? फाइटर पुश HAL's experience with private enterprise. HAL stands for Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, usually aeronautics related parts और aircrafts वगैरह बनाते हैं. And this article discusses how they developed the AMCA project, which is the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, a 5th generation fighter jet. And they're saying that this should be developed by a private company instead of HAL, which is a government-backed enterprise. And they're saying that there are very serious professional and practical concerns why he makes this argument. The first thing is he talks about how Air Force needs 3 important elements: advanced weapons, skilled personnel, and reliable supply chains. हमारे पास अभी रशियन एयरक्राफ्ट्स हैं, वेस्टर्न एयरक्राफ्ट्स हैं, इंडिजिनस एयरक्राफ्ट्स भी हैं, तेजस जैसे जो HAL ने बनाए हैं. HAL जो है इनका रिपेयर और ओवरहॉल भी देखता है. नाउ HAL की जो ऑर्डर बुक है, उनके पास जो डिमांड है वो एक तरीके से ओवरलोड है, वो रखा है, एंड उस वजह से डिलेज हो रहे हैं, उस वजह से क्वालिटी इश्यूज हो रहे हैं. एंड द गवर्नमेंट इज कंसिडरिंग अवॉर्डिंग दिस AMCA वाला फाइटर जेट वाला कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टू अ प्राइवेट फर्म which is not HAL, which could create a second aircraft manufacturer in India. Abhi the primary one is HAL itself. But the concerns are that private firms के पास experience नहीं है. They have no prior experience building fighter aircrafts. And developing a 5th generation fighter aircraft is very complex. Cannot be compared with building helicopters or ships, etc. Then they talk about how past aircraft have had problems with design, with testing, with production. But it was still kind of streamlined because it was all under one organization, which is HAL. But AMCA के लिए अगर अलग से मैन्युफैक्चरर या डिज़ाइन एजेंसी लाएंगे तो फिर ओनरशिप और इसकी टेस्टिंग और प्रोडक्शन वगैरह में कौन हेल्प करेगा? दैट इज अनदर चैलेंज. देन इंफ्रा का चैलेंज है. HAL जो है 80 साल से बैंगलोर में एरोस्पेस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना रहा है, एंड इन एयरफोर्स के साथ और डीआरडीओ के साथ काम कर रहा है, बट प्राइवेट प्लेयर को फिर अलग से अपना बहुत बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट लगाना पड़ेगा टू बिल्ड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड फैसिलिटीज। फिर प्रोडक्शन का रिस्क भी है कि वो सही से कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर पाएंगे। व्हाई वुड दे इवन इन्वेस्ट सो मच फॉर जस्ट प्रोटोटाइप फॉर द बिगिनिंग? तो वही सारी बातें हैं कि would it be feasible for a private player or not। तो सॉल्यूशन यही है कि प्राइवेट फर्म को जो है अपने ऑपरेशंस एचएएल के इकोसिस्टम के अंदर सेटअप करने चाहिए। एचएएल का लैंड और फैसिलिटी यूज करना चाहिए इन शेयरिंग बेसिस, एंड बिकॉज एएमसी इज an important national project, it's important that cooperation takes precedence over duplication। so यही सारी बातें यहाँ पे ऑथर करता है हमसे। ठीक है जी, आगे चले, लेट्स मूव अहेड। चैट में क्या चल रहा है? How many people give mocks in CL? Any idea? See, when you get closer to the CLAT exam, it usually is around 3, 4, 5,000 people. अभी मेरे लिए गेस करना मुश्किल है, बट यस, आप मान सकते हो जून जुलाई के बाद इट्स इजीली 4,000 people, 3,000 to 4,000 people are giving the mocks। बट यार अभी तो डिपेंड्स ऑन मॉक, क्योंकि कुछ लोगों के बोर्ड एग्जाम्स चल रहे हैं, कुछ लोगों ने अभी स्टार्ट नहीं करी है तैयारी। So yeah, Gopal is saying AI bubble is busting. Okay. LLM scaling is already getting bottlenecked by stale algorithms. Companies keep expanding training parameters and pray it works. Yeah, that is a big challenge for sure। ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं हम लोग। लेट्स मूव अहेड टू द नेक्स्ट आर्टिकल। रीथिंकिंग यूजीसी's new equity regulations। Although we have discussed this multiple times, but because there's an article, let's quickly recap। यूजीसी के जो regulations है, पूरा नाम है यूजीसी प्रमोशन ऑफ इक्विटी इन हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशंस रेगुलेशंस 2026, एंड इनको इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था टू एड्रेस इश्यूज लाइक कास्ट बेस्ड डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, रिलीजियस डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, प्राइमरली इन यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड कॉलेजेस। लेकिन इसमें जनरल कैटेगरी के लिए कोई प्रोविजन नहीं थे, जिस वजह से उन्होंने प्रोटेस्ट किया और उस वजह से सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जनवरी एंड में इस पे स्टे लगा दिया ऑन द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ दीज रेगुलेशंस। एंड द एलिगेशन इज दैट अभी बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, एलिगेशन नहीं कहेंगे, द कंसर्न इज दैट अभी बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है हायर एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूट्स में, एंड जो ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल सिस्टम्स हैं वो बहुत स्लो हैं या वीक हैं या एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करते हैं, जिस वजह से मार्जिनलाइज्ड स्टूडेंट्स सफ़र कर रहे हैं विदाउट एनी प्रॉपर रेमेडी। तो कुछ रिफॉर्म इसके लिए ज़रूरी है। अब ये प्रोटेस्ट जो हैं जनरल कैटेगरी की तरफ से है बिकॉज ऑफ फियर एंड डिस्ट्रस्ट कि उनके अगेंस्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होगा, तो फिर कोई रेजोल्यूशन है ही नहीं, बिकॉज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन इन दिस रेगुलेशन इज वेरी वेग, जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी पॉइंट आउट किया। एंड द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द इक्विटी कमिटी इज ऑल्सो वेरी अनक्लियर कि कितने लोग होंगे, कौन होगा, कैसे होगा, प्रोसीजर क्या होगा। सो इसमें बहुत सारे लूप होल्स हैं विच कैन बी मिसयूज्ड, एंड द मेंबर्स ऑफ डिसएडवांटेज्ड groups can use this system unfairly to target जनरल कैटेगरी स्टूडेंट्स एज वेल। सो इस डर की वजह से जो है प्रोटेस्ट किया लोगों ने, एंड या देन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्टे लगा दिया कि भाई पहले हम इसकी जांच करेंगे अच्छे से, देन विल इंश्योर दैट दिस इज इम्प्लीमेंटेड प्रॉपरली। अभी जो रेगुलेशंस हैं वो क्लियरली डिफाइन नहीं करते ऑफेंसेस को और उनकी पेनल्टीज को, बहुत एक तरीके से एब्स्ट्रैक्ट सा प्रोसेस है, एंड दे लीव इन्वेस्टिगेशंस एंटायरली टू द इंटरनल इक्विटी कमिटी की अपने हिसाब से देख लो, which allows the UGC to punish institutions for non-compliance as well, कि भाई funding cut कर देंगे etc. Which again in return creates pressure on universities to act quickly to avoid these penalties, which could mean unfair practices or messing up the whole mechanism. So yeah, that's pretty much it। Then he talks about examples from the US कि US में भी एक बार ऐसे हुआ था, backlash आया था because of lack of following of the due process of law, and इंडिया भी वही गलती करने जा रहा है, एंड इससे एकेडमिक कल्चर पे क्या इम्पैक्ट आएगा, यही सारी बातें। कोर आर्ग्यूमेंट यही है कि जस्टिस होना चाहिए, लेकिन इट शुड बी डन इन अ फेयर एंड इक्विटेबल मैनर, एंड सिर्फ स्पीड इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, क्लैरिटी भी इंपॉर्टेंट है, प्रोसीजरल सेफगार्ड्स इंपॉर्टेंट है, एंड यूनिवर्सिटीज को सोच समझ के कोई भी स्टेप लेना चाहिए। दैट इज व्हाट दिस आर्टिकल टेल्स अस। ठीक है, आगे चलते हैं। Let's move ahead to why Canada can't leverage oil. This is not important. मतलब पढ़ सकते हो आप लोग. Optional. Reckoning for India's aviation sector. Let's read the gist of this. December Indigo disruption emerged as first failed stress test, the scale of which now threatens to weigh heavily on country's largest carrier, with it being ranked in the bottom layer of most indexes. Indices होता है वैसे तो. DGCA data for 2024-2025 shows that Indigo commands approximately 63 to 65% of domestic passenger traffic, while Air India Group accounts for further 27 to 28%, together forming a duopoly controlling nearly 90% of the market. In December 25, Civil Aviation Ministry issued NOCs for operational launch of three regional airlines, Shank Air, Al Hind Air, and Fly Express, all aimed at enhancing regional connectivity and serving previously unattended routes. ठीक है. All right. What else? What explains SpaceX and Blue Origin stepping up their moon plans? The simplest explanation for the pivot is that it improves the rate at which SpaceX can learn the technologies it needs to mature. Another possibility is that in current environment, lunar missions are also accompanied by external demand and more legible milestones. Okay. Internet curbs have been imposed as violence continues in Ukhrul is in Manipur. Cookies और Nagas के बीच में violence चल रहा है. We have discussed this. Himanta files 500 crore defamation suit against Congress leaders. Center sidesteps query on Agniveer's career progression. Special revision. Assam voter count decreases by 2.43 lakh in final polls. Government to advance launch of allowance scheme for unemployed youth, says Mamata Banerjee. ठीक है. Opposition MPs submit notice seeking removal of Lok Sabha Speaker. This is the most important article for today's newspaper and the one which is relevant from CLAT perspective. इसको हम PPT पे अच्छे से देखेंगे क्या क्या यहाँ पे चीजें हैं. Removal of Speaker is the last option, says Trinamool Congress, Mamata Banerjee की party. One-sided deal with flood Indian markets with US products, says Akhilesh Yadav. Congress likely to focus on US trade deal during discussion on budget. Best possible deal amid shifting global order, says Mr. Vikram Misri, who's our Foreign Affairs Secretary. ठीक है. Bangladesh plans to shift from Indian cotton to US cotton. ये एक interesting चीज है. नई इन्होंने trade deal sign करी है US के साथ, where they would be replacing Indian cotton with US cotton. And this deal is being called a game changer by Bangladesh की जो interim government है, which is being led by Muhammad Yunus. And क्यों cotton इतना important है बांग्लादेश के लिए? That is because they have a very huge textile and garment industry. They are one of the world's largest exporters of ready-made garments. They are also one of the I think the largest exporter of jute. And प्रॉब्लम ये है कि इनके देश में इतना कॉटन उगता नहीं है कि अपनी डिमांड ये एक्सपोर्ट वाली फुलफिल कर पाए, तो इसलिए कॉटन ये इंपोर्ट करते हैं प्राइमरली फ्रॉम इंडिया एंड सेंट्रल एशिया. इंडिया हैज बीन द मेजर सप्लायर विद ऑलमोस्ट more than $1 billion worth of cotton exported to Bangladesh in the last couple of years, and Bangladesh is one of the largest importers of Indian cotton as well. अब ये जो नई डील साइन करी इन्होंने, इसमें Bangladesh would now get 19% tariff on textile exports from US, which is better than some competitors like Indonesia and Cambodia. And if Bangladeshi producers use US cotton, the tariff will drop to 0. तो obviously वो US cotton पे shift कर जाएंगे from Indian cotton, which would definitely have some impact on our exports. But yeah, in the recent times, the relationship between India and Bangladesh have not been the best. काफ़ी गर्मा गर्मी चल रही है. दोनों ने एक दूसरे पे import export restrictions लगा रखे हैं. And now Bangladesh is diversifying its sources. तो बांग्लादेश के लिए एक तरीके से better access है to the US markets, some competitive advantage as well, and potentially lower tariffs. बाकी कंसर्न्स ये हैं कि यूएस कॉटन की जो क्वालिटी है वो इंडियन कॉटन की क्वालिटी जितनी अच्छी नहीं है. एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर कॉस्ट कंसर्न्स एज वेल. यूएस कॉटन इन जनरल थोड़ा सा महंगा है. डिस्पाइट टैरिफ ड्रॉपिंग टू 0, इट्स स्टिल एक्सपेंसिव देन इंडियन कॉटन. देन देयर आर ऑफ कोर्स फ्रेट चार्जेस. एक है इंडिया से कॉटन बांग्लादेश पहुंचाना जिसमें चार्जेस कम लगेंगे, और यूएस से बांग्लादेश ऑब्वियसली चार्जेस ज़्यादा लगेंगे, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन चार्जेस. सो द फाइनल कैलकुलेशन माइट नॉट बी एज प्रॉफिटेबल as Bangladesh wants it to be. एंड फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी भी थोड़ी सी जो है कम हो जाएगी। बट यूएस के लिए फ़ायदा ही फ़ायदा है, उनको तो एक नया एक्सपोर्ट मार्केट मिल जाएगा, एंड इंडिया के लिए थोड़ा सा नुकसान है। तो यही सारी बातें हैं। चैट में क्या चल रहा है? व्हाट आर्टिकल कवर्स प्रिंसिपल ऑफ अनलॉफुल असेंबली ऑफ मोर देन 5 people? I think it's BNS article 160 something. We'll have to check. चेंज हो गया ना BNS के बाद से, बार चेक कर लेते हैं, गलत नहीं बताना चाहता। 189, pardon me, it's 189 of BNS, करेक्ट। इसको हम पहले 144 कहते थे, धारा 144। दिस इज नाउ 189 इन BNS। 144 थी पहले। Aradhe saying Manipur just got out of president's rule and the situation is worsening so much that they might return to president's rule. Yay. ऐसे ही है भाई, this is how things are. Retired IPS officer is Home Ministry's new Northeast advisor. His name is Mr. Ajit Lal. Okay. Netflix tells High Court that controversial title of the film will be changed. हम कल ही डिस्कस कर रहे थे, घूसखोर पंडित नाम है मूवी का। रो ओवर यूजीसी regulations give बीजेपी मायावती much to ponder in UP. Indian exporters poto, मतलब एक तरीके से not happy by US Bangladesh trade pact. They must use US sourced raw material to avail zero tariff, but Indian sector stakeholders feel the time taken to receive US cotton, its transport and storage could reduce the cost advantage. We just discussed. ठीक है। Small Medium Enterprises Forum urges Supreme Court not to bar data sharing by Meta, citing harm to them, क्योंकि एडवर्टाइजिंग में जो है कॉस्ट इनकी बढ़ा देगा मेटा, ऑब्वियसली फेसबुक पे एड्स चलाने की, इंस्टाग्राम पे एड्स चलाने की। तो उस वजह से ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि भाई करने दो इनको डेटा शेयर। ओके, ठीक है। Will hand over power to elected government fast, says Mohammad Yunus, the interim chief of the current government. Israeli PM Netanyahu and Trump to meet as Iran tensions are still high. Takaichi's win could mean more tensions with China. Okay, we discussed all of this. Pakistan won against USA. T20 World Cup चल रहा है. New Zealand also won against UAE. Then Netherlands won against Namibia. वेस्ट इंडीज का इंग्लैंड के साथ आज मैच चल रहा है। बहुत ही क्रेजी मैच हुआ आज साउथ अफ्रीका और अफगानिस्तान का। द मैच लेड टू अ टाई, मतलब बोथ टीम्स स्कोर्ड द एग्जैक्ट सेम रन्स व्हिच लीड्स टू अ सुपर ओवर। तो सुपर ओवर हुआ, सुपर ओवर में भी टाई हो गया, फिर एक और सुपर ओवर हुआ जिसमें अल्टीमेटली देन साउथ अफ्रीका वन, बट सैड फॉर द अफगानी ब्रोस। Sofia said new world record on the way to gold. This is Kazakhstan's Sofia Shilzenko, who has created a new world record in 50-meter rifle, 3-position women's event. India claimed 2 more gold on the second day of this competition. Day 7th day of this competition. ठीक है, दक्षिणेश्वर सुरेश making rapid strides. This is tennis, the Davis Cup. Okay. ठीक है. That's pretty much about today's newspaper. We can move back to our PPT and do the remaining articles. And then we move to our strategy session on how to approach your mocks. All right, folks. Chat में क्या चल रहा है? Aren't US crops cheaper due to huge surplus? नहीं यार, logistics, transportation cost, वो सारी चीजें भी देखनी पड़ती हैं. Then you cannot generalize all US crops. Cotton is not produced in surplus in US. Baki, some of the crops are. Rather saying that's food safety as well. Yeah, that's true. US के फूड सेफ्टी रेगुलेशंस तो लैक्स नहीं है, इंडिया की है डेफिनेटली, FSSAI की। Kavita is saying super over में super over. Yes, that's correct. That's what happened today. Okay, let's move to the first article. AI content की बात हम कर रहे हैं, वैसे तो हम डिस्कस कर चुके, but let's recap. Union government notified amendment to the IT Act requiring photorealistic AI content to be prominently labeled, coming into force on February 20. And time जो है टिक डाउन का वो भी कम कर दिया है, मैंने आपको बता ही दिया. Content deemed illegal by court or an appropriate government will have to be taken down within 3 hours, while sensitive content within 2 hours. जो IT अमेंडमेंट रूल्स हैं 2026 के, they define synthetically generated content as audiovisual information which is artificially or algorithmically created, generated, modified or altered using a computer resource in a manner that such information appears to be real, authentic or true, and depicts or portrays any individual or event in a manner or is likely to be perceived as indistinguishable from a natural person or real event. Final definition is narrower than the one released in the previous draft. With existing IT rules, failure to comply with the rules could result in loss of safe harbor, the principle that sites allowing users to post content cannot automatically be held liable in the same way as publisher of a book or periodical. All right, the next article is regarding MPs submitting notice seeking the removal of our Lok Sabha Speaker Mr. Om Birla. Opposition parties belonging to India Alliance on Tuesday submitted this notice to the Secretary General of Lok Sabha, seeking the removal of Speaker Om Birla for allegedly conducting the business of the House in a blatantly partisan manner. Partisan एक तरीके से आप biased कह सकते हो. The notice to bring a resolution for removal of speaker cited four specific reasons, including not allowing the LOP, Rahul Gandhi, to complete his speech on the motion of thanks. This is not an isolated instance. The leader of opposition in Lok Sabha is almost invariably not allowed to speak, the notice said. Article 94C of Constitution says the speaker can be removed from office by a resolution passed by the House through a simple majority, यानी कि 50% से एक ज़्यादा. Article 96 allows the speaker to respond to the notice for removal, but the charges against him or her will have to be specific. According to practices and procedures governing the conduct of legislative business in the House, the Speaker or Deputy Speaker can be removed from the House by a resolution of Lok Sabha passed by a majority of all the then members of the House. This is procedurally possible under 94C. And as per Article 94, it provides for the vacation, resignation, and removal of those occupying the office of Speaker and Deputy Speaker. The rules in this regard. As per 94A, they cease to be a member of Lok Sabha. According to 94B, may at any time be, by writing under his hand, addressed, resign office, and 94C, removed by resolution by the House of People by a majority of all members present and voting. If a member wishing to give notice of resolution for removal of Speaker or Deputy Speaker, he has to do it in writing to the Secretary General to Lok Sabha. The notice may be given by two or more members jointly, but no resolution for the removal of such officials moved under Clause C can be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given of the intention to move the resolution. And this has been done thrice, like this moving of this resolution in the year 1954, 66, and 87. Such a motion requires to be backed by at least two MPs of Lok Sabha, or the 50 MPs have to stand up in its favor. That is, the quorum of the House has to be fulfilled. Quorum यानी 10% यहाँ पे कह सकते हो आप. For the procedure to take place, the process is governed by rules 200 to 203 of Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in Lok Sabha. So this is all how the process works. ठीक है जी. According to Rule 200A, such a resolution needs to be specific with respect to charges, be clearly and precisely expressed, and shall not contain arguments, inferences, ironical expressions, imputations, and defamatory statements. The other points which such a motion needs to adhere to include no speech by the members who submitted it after it is admitted for discussion. The Speaker has the right to speak as well as to take part in proceedings of Lok Sabha while any resolution for the removal from office is under consideration. They are entitled to vote only in the first instance on such a resolution or any other matter during such proceedings, but not in the case of equality of votes. ठीक है जी. Now, last article is regarding the START treaty. End of the START should prompt discussion on wider and equal terms. 5th February को the START treaty expired, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. This was a symbol of an older era in geopolitics where US and then USSR were engaged in an escalating spiral of one-upmanship, such as testing mammoth nuclear weapons and space races. START represented a pivotal shift in how they approached nuclear competition, from unlimited accumulation towards negotiated reduction, which emerged from decades of arms control efforts and altered the trajectory of Cold War's final years. The arms race that dominated the Cold War saw both superpowers accumulate massive arsenals. By 1980s, they each possessed 10,000 strategic nuclear warheads. START negotiations began in 1982 and proved complex. The treaty was not signed until July 1991, months before Soviet's collapse. Represented the first agreement between the superpowers to actually reduce Okay, I think I am back. Somehow got disconnected abruptly. ठीक है. I hope I'm audible and visible now, guys. Sorry for the interruption. Chat में क्या चल रहा है? Screen lagging, video stop, gone, screen went away, disappeared, टाटा बाय बाय खत्म. मोदी जी ने रेड मार दी. Nice. ठीक है. चलो. All right, let's continue. So हम बात कर रहे थे start treaty की, and this we discussed that this led to the strategic reduction of nuclear weapons. Now, these negotiations began in 1982 and were complex. The treaty was not signed until July 1991, just months before Soviet's collapse. And this was the first agreement between the superpowers to actually reduce nuclear arsenals rather than just limit the growth, which required each side to cut warheads to 6,000 and reduce delivery systems proportionately. This was a significant symbolic and practical achievement. Each country would have roughly 30% fewer warheads than existing agreements permitted. The later agreements built on START's framework reduced deployable warheads to 1,700 to 2,200 a side, and the new START treaty limited each to 1,550 deployed strategic warheads. The new START, with its 15-year lifespan, ought to have been replaced with more ambitious outcomes, but given that global geopolitics seemed to be receding into imperialist structures, mercantilist tariff systems, and a craving for territories, it is unsurprising that arms race doctrines too will be resuscitated. US President Donald Trump has stated that any future arms control must include China, given its growing nuclear stockpile, signaling that US will not be bound by limits if other major powers are free to build up theirs. The end of START may have serious consequences for global agreements such as the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. So these are some things about START. Let's look at today's vocab and then we'll move to our mock strategy session. The first word is aphoristic. Aphoristic मतलब कुछ ही शब्दों में अपनी बात कहना. Marked by use of few words to convey much information or meaning. Brief, capsule, compact are synonyms. The language is austere and aphoristic. Long-winded, prolix, and redundant are adjectives. The next word is cognate. Cognate मतलब एक जैसी qualities होना, having qualities in common, alike, analogous, comparable. German and Dutch are cognate languages. Different, dissimilar, unlike are antonyms. And the last word is inveterate. Inveterate मतलब एकदम पक्का, कट्टर. Having a particular habit, activity, or interest that is long established and unlikely to change. Ingrained, eradicable, ineradicable. Deep rooted are synonyms. Temporary, transient, short time are antonyms. The man is an inveterate liar who only rarely tells the truth. So ऐसी कोई habit जो change ना हो पाए, that is called inveterate. Cognate is having common qualities, and aphoristic is explaining in compact, brief words. With that, we come to the end of this Hindu analysis discussion. Chandalekha is saying, very grateful to all mentors, got an offer from SLS Nagpur. Oh my God, congratulations. So happy for you. Kya baat hai? This makes me so happy. Super duper congratulations. Need your advice, SLS Hyderabad versus Nagpur versus BITS versus Alliance. मुझे एक email drop कर दो. हम इस पे discussion कर लेंगे. ठीक है. All right. Chalo. Kushagra is also here. Hello, Kushagra. How are you? How's it going? Chalo, we guys would be moving to the different stream, to the different session, and would start a discussion on mock strategy now. I'll see you all guys there. Jaldi se aa jao fatahat se, and we'll begin our discussion on mocks. See you guys there. Bye bye.